All right, let's come back to our focus. This morning, it's been months since the deadly cholera outbreak in Hammanskraal in Pretoria took force, and the Rooiwal waste treatment plant was at the center of the water contamination crisis. Now, the city of Tshwane promised to invest 450 million rand over the next 3 years, this towards its refurbishment, but it's been estimated it would cost about 4 billion rand in total to actually complete these upgrades. In KwaZulu-Natal, though, the province is still struggling with water supply issues since the deadly floods there, and corruption is exacerbating the problem. Experts are further warning of dire consequences in the next 5 years unless urgent action is taken. Now, with that being said, our reporters, Pule, Letshwiti-Jones and senior reporter Dasen Thathiah joining me right now to delve more into this issue. And good morning to you, colleagues. But Dasen, let me start with you. I mean, what's the overview of the situation of drinking water out in Durban?
Well, as it's expected in a metro like eThekwini, there are a number of issues that arise when it comes to those issues of drinking water. If I had to just cast your mind back, you'll remember earlier this year there were certain allegations or claims that were being made that the drinking water in the city was not safe. There were several tests that were then conducted afterwards by the eThekwini municipality, by independent scientists as well. And eventually the municipality then wrote that off as saying that it was fake news. But despite that, there have been pockets of information that has been coming through. There have been reports from various communities, and it still is an issue that remains in question. Some people have given accounts of how they have fallen sick as a result of drinking tap water. And I can tell you from living in Durban now, despite that information that has been released by the municipality and scientists, there still is a certain anxiety when it comes to the quality of drinking water. And a lot of this is because of the floods last year, and as a result of that there were these worries around contamination of water, with sewage systems that were not working adequately, repairs that were taking a while to get going, and as a result of that, this is now the situation that we deal with. This is a metro where there are about 4 million people that are relying on the water supply here, but the main line that services this area, we were told by the eThekwini municipality, is about 12,000 kilometers long. So what that effectively means is that there are also a number of faults that arise, and the infrastructure needs to be maintained adequately to ensure that all of these communities, all of these residents continue to receive water. The last time we spoke to the municipality, we were told that they deal with about 300 faults a day. Some of those are severe. Last month we were talking about an area in Durban, in Morningside, where there was a collapse in the road as a result of a water pipe that had started leaking. So certainly a number of issues, but it's one that the municipality says it is trying to get a handle on, and to do this, it also increased its budget from 1 billion to just over 2 billion to deal with what is now becoming an ongoing problem in supplying drinking water and maintaining infrastructure.
That's right, Jason. Quite a costly maintenance work there in terms of the billions of rands and the numbers that you're telling us. But it seems it's not isolated just only to KwaZulu-Natal. When you look at the city of Tshwane as well, 450 million rand. I mean, that was the commitment from the city of Tshwane. But in total, we understand that about 4 billion rand would be the cost. I'm sure, Pule, you would remember, in terms of making sure that this ailing and aging water infrastructure issue is brought, of course, under control. But how's it looking from where you stand? If we think of Hammanskraal, we cannot deny the number 23 in total of those, unfortunately, who died due to the cholera outbreak.
Of course, yeah, those are the people who died as a result of the cholera outbreak in the area. But the city, of course, has maintained that it's doing all it can to ensure that it can refurbish the Rooiwal water plantation and ensure that people have a cleanable drinking water as well, pledging around 450 million as a sum to this project, which they were saying they were treating with urgency. But just to get an update on that matter, I'm joined by the MMC for Utility Services, Mr. Themba Forsi, this morning. Thank you very much for making time and joining us on ENCA. Let's just start with where we stand right now. Where are we with the recent updates in regards to the Rooiwal water plantation and ensuring that residents of Hammanskraal eventually have clean water?
Thank you, Pule, for affording me the opportunity. You'd appreciate that the minister, together with our executive mayor, we had a media briefing where an announcement was made of our commitment for 450 million, which will be divided in 3 financial years. And obviously to finish off the first phase, and which is at 68%. And then with 4 billion that will be set aside through National Treasury and DBSA being the implementing agent in making sure that we expedite the restoration of Rooiwal wastewater treatment plant. You'd also appreciate that this is not something that you could be able to deliver in a year or two. It is a process which quite an extensive amount of time is required on this. However, there is a mitigating factor that we are now taking advantage of, that is capacitating the Klebrifiel water treatment plant from 10 megalitres to 40 megalitres, so that people of Themba can be able to have potable water through their water taps in their yards, whilst we're pushing the 3 years of making sure that the Rooiwal water treatment plant is sorted out.
We have this element now of workers having embarked on a strike. Is that also affecting some of the processes of, looking into where there's leaks, where there's potential pipe damages, and etc.?
Definitely. If there's, you appreciate again that there's currently an illegal strike that is taking place, which service delivery is impeded in this instance, where the turnaround time for restoration of other services that are out, including electricity, takes time. I'm taking into account of the strike, but I can concur with you that obviously service delivery due to the strike is impacted immensely.
And how far are we pertaining to the investigations around what could have been the root cause to the contamination of the water which resulted in this deadly cholera outbreak in Hammanskraal?
I would think you should know by now, Pule, because it was out. There was a media that was made by reputable, even the National Department of Water and Sanitation. The occurrence of cholera had nothing to do with Rooiwal or even our water, but from the waste that was collected, waste that was dumped across this area from the normal dumping sites where cholera remnants were found. This is where perhaps amongst others, but they cannot point exactly where it was, but quite a number of factors that might amount to us from the dumping site.
And I ask this because last time when we spoke to residents, especially even now in the morning, some were, there were large allegations around how they believe that even the water tankers, they could have been sabotaging and them being contaminated themselves. Has that ever come across your office, or has that come to your attention?
Remember, water tankers are tested on a time-to-time basis, so there was no elements of cholera there. Even the CSIR, Medical Research Council, they all made tests from those, but no cholera remnants were found on those, so those are unfounded.
Thank you very much. Let me speak to the community lead, of course, here, and of course representing Laska Association, Civic Association. I'm speaking to Mr. Force, of course, is the MMC, but representing the masses as well, with people on the ground in large communities, Atteridgeville, Lotus Gardens. What are the sentiments around as well, and in Hammanskraal, pertaining to the issue of the water, not having clean running water in this area?
Thank you very much, Pule, and the viewers at home. Thanks for the opportunity again to speak on behalf of the aggrieved residents of Tshwane. I'd like to categorically state that Laska is no longer for Atteridgeville, Swartsville and Lotus. We've got affiliates who've just launched the Garankuwa, Oliven, Mamelodi, Soshanguve. So we are broadening our movement now. So what I'm going to say is we are sad today to be still standing at the crime scene. As you know that we've declared the city of Tshwane the crime scene, where 10 billions are missing, dead Africans, all that are missing without accountability, and our poor people are made scapegoats because powers that be dictates on how money should be spent from the very same people who are supposed to be assisted with registrations of the indigents and all that. The Hammanskraal people, it's like they're treated like subhumans. I mean, they were built with deadly water. So I'm saying to the residents of Tshwane, stop behaving like abused spouses. You know that this marriage is not working for you. We are being abused. We're waiting to die before you can say, I'm moving out. Go in 2024, register to vote. Don't abstain. You can only correct this thing when you are hands-on, we are on the ground. Other than that, people are still going to die, because I was speaking to some residents earlier on. They are saying there is Tshwane here, there is water that is still dirty, they still receive estimated bills on deadly water. How can you do that as a municipality? This is arrogant at its best. We've tried to provide solutions to the city. We have tried so many times, but it seems we are talking to ourselves, because they are not keen to listen to maybe Laska, because Laska is not a political party or some sort, but we are not concerned. All we are concerned is that we are the people, we are the voters. We are going to correct this, Pule. Make no mistake. We are mobilizing all the communities that we are going through, all of Tshwane. They are saying we had enough with this bullying and abuse, because there are solutions to these problems, but they just cannot implement. I mean, people have not been assessed since 2021 and 2022 for affordability, up to date. People are still waiting for the indigent to be approved.
Right.
So it's very, very sad that for all this mess, the money that was stolen for this treatment plant is now blamed on poor residents who are not even part of that, because we are now being made scapegoats and we are bullied by people that we put to power. So we are saying this is mess. We are at the crime scene again as Laska, but we are saying to the people of Hammanskraal, don't stress, we are still going to talk to you. We'll have a massive meeting like we did in Garankuwa. We'll spread the word to other townships. We are going to have a meeting in Atteridgeville on the 27th of this month, where we are going to give them a feedback on the report of that memorandum of grievances.
Okay, thank you very much. Of course, that's Tepo Mahlangu from Laska as well, speaking on behalf of residents and communities there as well. But they're saying that much more must be done to address these challenges. We spoke to the MMC for Utility Services, saying the city is on track in trying to make sure that they refurbish the Rooiwal water plantation, which will in turn distribute clean running water through taps to residents here in Hammanskraal.
Yeah, you could definitely hear the dissatisfaction from the guest and the resident there. I mean, Pule, referring to where you stand as a crime scene, just as opposed to reiterating how nothing has been done. As a matter of fact, lives have been taken due to this cholera outbreak. But let me come back to you, Dasen, Thathiah. We were still talking in the context of Durban this time around. What are some of the maintenance issues that lie in that area?
Well, remember, that is key to all of this. When we're talking about water outages and we're talking about providing this drinking water to residents, we also need to talk about maintenance. And that's why we were talking about the budgets that are in place to deal with this. But I can tell you that there has been a lot left to be desired when it comes to the issue of maintenance around the city. We see a number of pipes that are breaking down. There are infrastructure issues. The floods also exacerbated this. And eventually, I think finally one can say that the municipality has cottoned onto this and realized that it may not necessarily have all of the capacity and the expertise to deal with the issues that exist. And about a month ago, it put out a call to call on retired engineers and people with expertise in this field to come forward and offer that knowledge to current teams, and in all of doing this in a bid to strengthen their capacity and deal with the problems that exist. About a month ago, we also had an opportunity to speak to the water and sanitation unit in eThekwini, and they were telling us about some of the challenges that they deal with. One of the other things that they spoke about was, although they are dealing with these faults, they say that it's not necessarily new. It's just that now with social media, you find that the information seems to spread a lot faster. And what it does is that it gives the indication of it being a crisis. But let's listen to what Simon Scruton had to say to us during our last interaction with him.
Background, what I'd like to say is we've been in the water business for over 100 years. We have gone through some extremely challenging times, as the listeners will well know. We've had COVID, we've had load shedding, we've had our economy implode, we've had riots. As a result, our budgets have been cut, and we're sympathetic that the ratepayers are also hard pressed. So that's a background. We've been in business for the last 100 years. We're going to be in business for the next 100 years. In terms of improvements, we have a 24-hour call center. We've got an accolade for having a WhatsApp number, so we can open up communication to the residents. But we've got over 12,000 kilometers of water main. That's like going to here in Joburg on a daily basis 20 times. That's the length of our mains. We've got 4 million people that we serve, and we have in the order of about 300 faults a day. What tends to happen through social media is everything gets elevated and escalated, and all of a sudden everyone is aware of the problem. So for the last many years we've been working in the background, doing the repairs. Now suddenly everyone knows there's a water outage, and it almost gets to crisis level that people become aware there's something wrong. We would like them not to be aware. We'd like the service on 24/7, which is our objective. It's a lot easier for us, and not to have these issues in the neighborhood.
Well, Pule, if I may just conclude this one with you, Carly, quite strong words that were coming out in terms of now this also turning into almost, I suppose, a galvanizing of residents saying they can do something about what they're experiencing in their communities. For example, going to vote next year. It seems to be the strong sentiment that I'm also hearing to say it seems the only option in change they can expect is through voting.
It seems to be the only option, Dumelo, of course, but I just want to also get just from the MMC himself, just to find out what will be the way forward in terms of protecting, the water infrastructure as well, particularly because we're seeing this illegal strike where there's been concerns around depots being targeted and, the city's infrastructure being targeted, which is very essential in terms of distributing service delivery to the residents in Hammanskraal. What are the plans to protect the water infrastructure?
Okay, as you can see at your back, we've got TMPD that is there. We've got SAPS that is guarding our infrastructures, but that is not enough. We call on the union to come back to work, and obviously because we have an order that our employees need to come back to order, this strike is an illegal strike, so we can be able to go ahead and be able to deliver services to our residents. Look, Pule, one other thing which also the union needs to come through is that we also need to say, how then do we, the city and the unions come together and make sure that we capacitate the city? These are the languages that I need to hear. That let's make sure that we get as much revenue, let's extract revenue in the city so that we can be able, if there's money in the city, surely it makes sense that our people should be getting all those increases and so forth. But for now, what do we need to do? Because we know very well that our bank balances are not so healthy. What do we do? Let's match together and see what we get solutions to make sure that we extract revenue and make sure that we get as much money as possible, and be able to educate our residents also that services need to be paid so we can be able to deliver the very same services that they are paying for. I think that is just common sense to me.
Okay, thank you very much, MMC for utility services there. Temba Forsi joining me this morning, as well as Tepo Mahlangu from Laska, a civic organization representing some of these communities in Tshwane, including Hammanskraal, Soshanguve, Lotus Garden, and of course Mamelodi.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much to you, ENC reporter Pule Letshwiti-Jones, and ENC senior reporter Dasen Thathiah.